Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and a very special welcome to a man coming in all the way from Surrey in the UK. He's telling me it's actually quite cold, but he's sitting. It looks like you're sitting there in a t-shirt, though, Alexis.
Yeah, because we recently have something called central heating, when you can actually heat the inside of the building. Is very convenient.
Oh, I love that. Love that. In fact, full transparency, 1 week ago, we had some central heating and air conditioning put into our house here, which is the first time in 20 years. And summer started on Monday here in Australia. We put the heaters on. It was that cold.
Yeah, it's cold, really?
It was cold. It was cold. In fact, there were some areas around Melbourne that started to snow.
That's ridiculous. Like, by the way, if you want to invest in a new business, if I was 20 years younger, I would. Like, the UK has an incredible raise in heat in the summer. They have a very nice, very hot summer, the whole 2 weeks of it. And it gets crazy hot, and none of the house have AC. So now, like, you want to install an AC, you have like a 2 years wait list because nobody has AC and everybody wants it.
Wow, for that 2 weeks of summer.
Yeah, for that, but it gets like 40 degrees. It gets extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can imagine. And
then it backs to miserable and 8 degrees and drizzling. But yeah.
Oh, I love it. And that's probably why so many British people feel so comfortable in Melbourne.
I think that's the beer.
Oh, the beer. Yes.
Yeah, the Australian beers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Alex, I better officially welcome you and let people know who you are and where you're from and what you do, and love this. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I do apologize if I get this surname incorrect, but I'm thinking Alexis Sikorsky. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad? Perfect.
Yeah.
Co-founder of Nightscale Partners. You're a special advisor. You specialize in helping businesses scale and get ready for sale to private equity firms. You're also the best-selling author of Cashing Out, and have a long history in building businesses, including your own 9-figure exit. So this will be interesting to understand and get into the psychology of what it takes to build a business and get it prepared for selling. And particularly some of the things that business owners and maybe executives in businesses that are looking to prepare themselves for exit, what they can do in terms of succession planning and stuff, in terms of scalability and sustainability. I always like asking my guests the obvious question in terms of background, and how did it all start for you, and what was it that, I guess, lit the fire, to be a business builder in the first place, and then start to specialize in helping other business owners get ready for exit?
I strongly believe that entrepreneurship is an innate quality. A lot of us are entrepreneurs because literally there is nothing else we can do. Like, I'm like, after I sold my business, I was like, okay, do I get a job? Mm-hmm. And then I realized, but what? No, there's literally nothing I'm qualified to do. Like, I'm not technical enough to be a CTO. Definitely would be the worst chief operating officer on the planet. I'm not good enough with sales. Like, literally, there is no job I could do. Maybe flicking. No, I could not even flip burgers at McDonald's. I'm so clumsy. I would like burn myself on day one. So I started my first company was at 15. It was export import. So my parents are still mad at me for that. So yeah, it's like it was always there. I literally in my whole life I've been an employee for 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
And
14 months.
14 months. And after this 14 months, I bought the company I was working in. I literally am totally, strictly unable to be an employee.
Wow.
So yeah, that's like what motivated me. That's what I always did. And I had way more failure than successes, which is a measure of a tough-skinned and like battle-worn entrepreneur, lots of scars.
And with that, looking back, some of the key lessons you mentioned, you were an employee for 14 months and then you bought the company. But, and you also talked about more failure than success. And can we just talk about that a little bit? Because there's a lot of people in the world, whether they be trying to build their own business or being in sales, for example, that almost have this perception that they need to be successful. They need to actually make every post a winner. They see things like social media where all these people are posting wonderful pictures and this figmentation of success or this creation of or the image of success. How important has failure been in your journey and now with the businesses that you work with and you specialize in consulting to?
I have a very important piece of information for the people who listen or watch this. I have an absolute secret that guarantees zero failure. Don't do anything. If you're scared of failure, don't be an entrepreneur. By the way, in most cases, unlike people like me who really has no other choice, don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's a terrible business. It's a terrible job. We are very good at making it look super glamorous. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's dirty work. It's hard. You work hard. You have way more failure than successes. It's a hard job. And I keep telling my clients, especially when they are like my client is usually in this 5 to 10 million revenue bracket.
Yeah.
I say one exercise you never do is calculate your hourly revenue, because then you realize you'll better be cleaning people's house. Like literally you get paid better, especially in the UK. How important have my failures be? It's everything. Like I strongly believe you learn from failure, you don't learn from success.
Yeah.
I can give you like a concrete example of that. Company, the main company I started and sold, I started it in 2000, and company was doing software for private bank. 2007, company is doing 11, 12 million revenue, super profitable, really on a very, very good trajectory, like all good. And I am so proud of myself. I am so full of shit. I'm so convinced I know everything. Like I'm the king of the world. Like Elon Musk, well, it was not Elon Musk at the time, but Bill Gates, be careful, I'm coming. You know what I mean? Like so full of myself and absolute conviction that nothing can go wrong. And yes, we are at the end of 2007. I have a company that sells software to banks. What the hell could go wrong in 2008 where 100% of your clients are banks, right?
Yes. Yeah, what could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? And then 2008, global financial crisis. One day I lose 75% of my revenue. It's not a problem. I have a big war chest, right? The company is making 3 million revenue. I must have at least 2 million. I had zero.
Wow.
I had zero in the bank. So that's an example at a failure. Like, and when I talk to my clients, it's the first meeting. What's your war chest? Okay, let's build a war chest. I want 9 months of burn rate in your war chest. If not, I'm not talking to you. Most of the time, there are exceptions. But like, and how do I learn that? By almost dying from the wound. It's a big scar. It's a scar in the brain, in the heart. It's like a big scar. And I have millions of experience like that. And my whole experience of selling the company to a private equity, I was completely reactive. I had zero proaction in that thing. Like I use a chess piece in my website because I like chess. I was playing with the blacks during the whole process, and I got lucky. I got incredibly fucking lucky. Sorry if I'm swearing, but you're Australian. I thought in Australia it was allowed.
It is.
I got incredibly lucky that the PE who actually acquired me were good guys and not bad guys, because at the time I didn't have the tools to recognize good guys from bad guys.
Yeah.
So that's the story of my failures. And the next question was what motivated me to help other entrepreneurs. It started in 2021. After I sold the company, after I got retired, after I was done with my midlife crisis, with new country, new wife, new kids, new cars, I got everything new. And I was starting to get bored. It's not true though. Like, don't let people think I actually got a new car because I didn't care about the car. I was starting to get bored and I have a little bit of like a complex of not being super well educated. So I say, I'm going to prove to myself and everyone that I can actually attend school and be good at school. And I went for an executive MBA at Oxford.
Okay.
Oxford is a university here that people talk about a little bit,
Just a little
that
bit.
they're very,
Like
very
Harvard.
proud of. And during this executive MBA, I met lots of entrepreneurs. And I was talking to them and I was like, shit, they're making the exact same mistake I made at the beginning.
Mm.
And then I did a little mental exercise because it's fun and I like doing stuff like that. I say, okay, let's do a mental exercise that starting new access, instead of starting it in 2000 when I was 30 and have zero life or professional experience, I start now with knowing what I know. What's the result?
Mm-hmm.
And my calculation is the total cost of my mistakes is $50 million in 5 years.
15 or 50? 50.
50.
Wow.
That's the thought. Well, it's not the end of the world. That it's like you have to pay for your mistakes one way or another. So
Yeah.
I'm alive, which is like had my heart attack last year, and I keep saying people it's just a very minor heart attack, and then my wife yells at me, said, "Stop saying it's minor. You have 4 stents." I said, "Am I alive? It's minor. A major heart attack kills you, right?" So it's not the end of the world, but that's the cost. So talking to this guy, I say, hey, maybe I can help them like save 5 years and 50 million themselves. And I started, and then my biggest concern is how do I call myself?
Mm.
Because I like the idea of being a coach.
Yeah.
But then during the executive MBA, you have a few sessions for free with a professional coach who's basically coaching us to become coaches.
Yep.
And the guy told me the big thing with coaches is they're not allowed to give their opinion. And I say, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me because I'm not really good at not giving my opinion. So I took the title of special advisor.
Yeah.
And starting to work with at the beginning, I started with smaller company, more startup style. Then I realized that's not really where my value lies. That's I'm more useful a bit later.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started thinking like, okay, maybe I'll help 10 guys in a year. That's not enough. I can help more, and that's why I wrote the book. That I said at least I can help like thousands of people.
Yeah, nice, nice. So it's a really interesting story, and when you talk about like $50 million, I mean, even with a nine-figure exit, and you mentioned you've made millions of mistakes and there's been millions of failures. One of the things I'm always really conscious of, particularly around entrepreneurs and people that build a large business and then exit, is the relationship they build towards risk and taking chances and backing yourself where there's potential for failure. And you mentioned before that perhaps you're not qualified to do a lot of things like a CTO, but you've got to back yourself. Can you talk about, I guess, the mindset you had to develop? Was that something you already had? Was it something that was given to you by perhaps your parents or the people you surrounded yourself with? Or was it something you developed as you were going through your journey, which enabled you to take on more risk, but it wasn't necessarily uncalculated risk, but it was risk nonetheless?
Okay, so risk tolerance, it's not only deep inside entrepreneurship, it is actually entrepreneurship.
Right.
That's the difference between an employee and an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's the key difference. No risk, no reward. Calculated, that's a big debate.
Okay.
Do you think Elon Musk calculated the risk of sending a rocket and going after NASA? There's no way to calculate that risk.
Yeah.
And he risked literally everything. Like
Yeah.
now he's a trillionaire, but At the beginning, every single one of his like bets were all in.
Mm.
And you take all the great entrepreneurs, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy is irrelevant. Everybody like he is a great entrepreneur. Think about Steve Jobs, Zuckerberg, like the iconic entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I don't think it's calculated risk. I
Yeah.
think it's getting all in every time. And it's less about calculating the risk and more about how do you react when your risk doesn't pay off.
Mm.
And there is this new thing that I think is very smart in startups world that we didn't have at my time. It's go fast, break stuff,
Go fast
and
and break stuff.
and
Okay.
break stuff. It's a new philosophy. If you fail fast.
Yeah.
You throw a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of sweat on a problem, but you make it fast.
Mm-hmm.
And if it fails, you know immediately you move on, you pivot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at stories like Airbnb, it's like you probably if you saw the business plan of Airbnb when they were still in the I think there was in Y Combinator or one of these combinators like I think if you see the business plan now, you would laugh how different it is from the final product. I know at some point they made their money by selling cereal box, literally. There's a good book on Airbnb. It's super interesting. Like so, yeah, you take risk, but you be in a position that the failure doesn't destroy you.
Mm.
And that's really easy to say from where I'm sitting now. I've been like, I'm not gonna pretend like oh, okay, like it's okay. I had a 12 million company, now I'm at 3 million. I had to fire 80 of my friends and people who are almost like my family. No problem. No, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
miserable. It's painful, but it's part of the journey.
Yeah, I like that. And going back to when you were describing before, 2007, 2008, where you looked at the bank account and there was literally zero there. Um, just talk about the psychology of that and how hard is it to pivot, to keep going, to double down and say, you know what, I'm on the right path, get things done. Where is it because you said before it's all in and I want to fail fast, but at what point do you think, am I going down the right path? Is there any room in entrepreneurship for, I guess, doubt or questioning?
Every fucking month. At the end of every fucking month, when I had to mortgage my house, put money back in the company to try to pay these poor people who've been like looking left and right, and both of their colleagues are gone and still working with us in a market that's like it's Switzerland. They leave whenever they want, they get a job the next day. There is no
Yeah.
unemployment. And still they're there. They come to the office every morning. They lost all their clients. They're here to help you. Every month you have to pay these people. And every month you think like, is it good money chasing bad money? Am I right to do what I do? So there is actually two things that helped me keep going in that moment, but everybody will be different in this situation. One is these guys and these girls,
Yeah.
like fuck, these guys have been with me for 8 years, like working evenings, working weekends when everything was good. And now that we are in the grind and we've been in the grind for 3 years now and they're still there, you don't want to let them down. That's a big thing. And the other thing is, as I said earlier, there's literally nothing else I could do. Like I said, like, what do I do? Like, how do I get a job?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was literally, this is my only path.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Up
Because
until
what
it actually crashes, it's what I do.
so until I get evidence to say this is the bad deal, and it'll be hard evidence that comes from somewhere, I'm going to keep pushing forward because I've got people who are relying upon me. So
That was my mental state. I'm not saying it's the universal solution.
no, no, but that's really interesting because I'm really curious, Alexis, as to whether the business owners, the entrepreneurs that you are um, mentoring and coaching now, whether do you see qualities in them that you had that you saw in yourself. That tenacity to say, you know what, I'm going to keep going because I'm going to be. There's so many people that are reliant upon me, and I've got this big vision, and I want to see this big vision through because I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to give up too soon.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the people who choose to work with me, and even more the people I choose to work with, are usually not in that situation because I won't let them get to that situation because we're going to anticipate. Like, how arrogant and stupid can you be in 2007 thinking nothing bad will happen?
Yeah.
When in the history of the universe did nothing bad happen?
Mm,
And I tell to my clients, like, shit happens,
mm,
shit gonna happen. The only question is when and how big.
yeah.
That's all you need to anticipate.
Mm,
And so, yeah, they hopefully they won't need that tenacity. I also don't work with very early stage startups because the guys who think he has the new idea that will solve world peace, it's honestly they're a little bit annoying to work with because there is a subtle balance between, like, yes, being tenacious, yes, believing in yourself and your team and your product, and there's a very fine line to be like plain arrogant, and
yeah.
that's people I don't like. I make way more mistakes than good decision, and you know what? Everybody does. So
Yeah.
if you think like you cannot be wrong, also people who think they cannot be wrong usually don't hire advisors because like they hire people who are yes man and who can tell them you're fantastic, you're the best in the
Yes.
world, and that brings zero value. When you're an entrepreneur, you have more than enough of these people around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about that because I want to talk about your framework. You talk about the Apex framework, but also building teams. Going back to when you started your business in 2000, how important was mentoring, coaching people who have been down the path before you? How important were they in your ability to get the business up off the ground, but also go through a lot of those challenges when the inevitable obstacles would hit?
I didn't really have mentors, unfortunately.
Okay.
It takes a certain, like, that's one of the big mistakes young people do. I'm not talking about seasoned entrepreneur. I'm talking like people in their 20s and in their 30s. They are afraid to ask.
Mm.
They're afraid to ask either because they think they know better,
Hmm.
and in that case they're going to fail, and as they should. It's natural selection. People who think they know everything and don't need advice, it's natural selection. They should fail. But more annoying is kids who are good ideas but who are afraid to ask. Last year I did a tour in Florida, and in the US they have something that's very smart that we don't have much of in Europe. Is they have entrepreneurship masters. So you
Okay.
have kids who are actually taught how to be an entrepreneur. Honestly, I wish we had that. And then I got to there for a series of, not really formal lecture because I'm not really good at that, but more like fireside chat with the professor. The students are in the room. I dispense my wisdom and my knowledge for 10 minutes, and then we exchange, we chat, we talk.
Hmm.
I ask questions to them, and I love doing that.
Mm.
First of all, because it's fun and intellectually challenging, because some of these kids are super smart, small number, and also because you feel you can help. And my life has been a nightmare since, an absolute
It's been a
nightmare,
nightmare.
because I told all these kids, like, anytime you have a question,
Call
call
me.
me and ask. So they're calling nonstop, and there is lots of them. So they made my life an absolute living hell. But still, I do it because that's what we do. Like, I yet to meet somebody who has been somehow successful in their life. Somehow successful. I'm not talking.
Mm.
I'm not Elon Musk or Bill Gates, but somehow successful that doesn't want to give back.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
entrepreneur has a bad rap very often, but all the people I meet, like, you ask, they will. I'm not saying like they're gonna come work for you for 6 days, but like, I'm yet to meet somebody who will not let you pick his brain in exchange for a cold beer.
Yeah.
Like they'll do it.
It's interesting you say that. I do a lot of part of what I do is I do a lot of training and executive coaching and stuff. And one of the programs I do run is a mentoring program on how to teach mentors to be a mentor, but also how to teach mentees to be a great mentee. And I'm always saying that, similar to what you've just said, people who have experience, people who are quote unquote successful, they would love to give back and they'd love to share their experiences, their wisdom, and hopefully instill into a person maybe some information that might help them along their journey. But they're not going out there actively looking for people to mentor. They're waiting to be asked. And the problem is,
Yeah, and
many people
I
don't
mean,
ask.
one thing we don't do is we don't go randomly trying to get some mentees down the street. Well, that we don't do. But yeah,
No.
you have to ask for sure.
Yes.
I'm very, very friendly with a lot of professional golfers for reason like one of my very successful experience that helped me to lose almost all the money I made. I had a golf management company because I'm passionate and mediocre for golf, and I play a lot with professional golfers, and just like it's always nice to make somebody laugh. And I toured a little bit with a legend golfer called John Daly. He's a
Oh,
legend because
wow.
you know him. You are a
Yeah, and
golfer
that's
yourself.
is that where you learn how to smoke real cigars?
I fucking taught him. He smokes cigarettes, not the other way around. I wouldn't teach him how to drink beer though. But and we're like, and from time to time I'll do corporate stuff with him, and he will go talk to people, and he say, you know, the saddest thing, me and all the other guys who are still on tour, who are in their late 40s, 50s,
Yeah,
we would love the kids to come and ask for advice. We've
yeah.
been doing that thing for 30 years. We know all the tricks, we know everything. They never ask, they're too proud to ask. Like, come and ask, we know. We
Mm.
played you, it's the first time you played this course, we played it 200 times. We know, ask. And they never ask. It's the same, like most successful people are like ready to help, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it, from a psychology point of view, because you've got all this experience, all this knowledge, just wanting to give it to people. But if you just go and proactively give it, it's probably not going to be received with the intention that you want to give it to. And they're thinking, and they may actually miss the key information. But when people are curious, when they're open, when they have this voracious appetite to learn, that's when, and it comes back to that term, when the student's ready, the teacher's going to appear. There's so much information that can be bestowed upon them. I was going to ask you just in relation to that, the EBA executive MBA you were doing and working at Oxford with all the other entrepreneurs. Do they have the appetite to ask, or is there a percentage of those guys who are too proud because they've come from a good family? Maybe their parents were entrepreneurs and therefore they quote unquote know it.
No. So it really depends. Like it's a different settings because you're sitting with these people, you're drinking beers with them, and they get to know you. And I would say the large majority of them didn't like me. I'm not a very likable person. Especially in an environment like Oxford, which is very, very based around inclusion and diversity, and which thing I totally champion. I very much favor it. But I'm a 50 years old male. I was raised by the previous generation. My parents were boomers. We don't know how to do that shit. I started so many conversations by like, guys, I'm French. So the question is not whether I'm going to offend you, it's when. I know I'm
So
going to offend you, and I apologize. So a lot of these people who are a generation after me found me arrogant, and I am tend to be a little pressing in my opinion. So a lot of them didn't like me, but the one who did like me had no problem asking. So the one who
yeah,
didn't ask was not because they were too arrogant, it's because they rightly so didn't like me,
I
I
like
think.
that. And that comes back to the fact that you can't please all people, right? So you're going to resonate with some and not resonate with others, and either way, that's okay. but you'll end up working with the people that there is a connection with, and they're the ones that are going to get benefit from it. So that's perfectly okay.
That's why I onboard maybe 10% of the people who call me.
Yeah.
Maybe 10%, because that's not the only reason. There is tons of objective reasons. Like I don't do a plan that's more than 4 years.
Hmm.
So if I cannot bring a company to 100 million exit in 4 years, I'm not getting in, because I don't believe in plans that are more than 4 years. I got burned too many times. I
Mm.
believe in man makes plan and God laughs. So like, so, and there are other reasons, like I need to have certain type of business. Like a lot of people who call me actually have lifestyle businesses,
Hmm.
and it's fantastic. I love them. I really value them. Just I bring no value, because what this guy need is operational excellence, and I
Yeah.
suck at operational excellence. It's not at all what I do. Um, but also, like, people are going to pay me quite a decent amount of money to do what I do. Need to be 100% sure you bring solution and you don't add to the problem.
Yeah.
So you need to have a human connection, and
Mm.
that's me being old-fashioned and the opposite of an AI, right? Like, and although I think very soon I'm going to be replaced by AI mentors, but not yet. So still have a little bit of shell life, I think,
Nice.
shelf life. Um, so yeah, the human connection. It's not only it's important, but it's everything.
So with that, I wanted to delve into the importance of people, and we're just talking then about connection and how important it is. And people, I mean, I've always said in sales that people buy from people who they know, like, and trust. But also when you look at companies, people tend to stick around organizations based on their either the founder, the person they report to, but also they leave for the same person. So looking back on your journey, just talk a little bit about the importance of having good people around you and how you've gone about putting people in positions that has enabled the business to flourish. Because it's not just you. Obviously, you've got to rely on people and trust them to do right things. But when an entrepreneur is building an organization, can you talk a little bit about the human element in terms of the importance of getting the right people in the right roles?
Yeah. Um, I have a whole chapter on my book about that, and because it's absolutely key. And to be honest, I borrowed a concept from Steve Jobs,
Okay.
which is trying to get A players in as many positions as possible. And
Yeah.
A players are very specific brand of people, and you don't manage them the same way. You don't pay them the same way. You don't motivate them the same way as B and C players.
Hmm.
So you have to build your whole organization about attracting, keeping, and utilizing these people. The absolute key with A players is autonomy,
Hmm.
trust, and challenge. The job they do has to be autonomous. If you're breathing down their neck, they're going to say, no, sorry, that's not how I operate. I don't need you to tell me what I do. And you need to trust them. That goes with autonomy. And you need to give them stuff that's difficult and challenging. If not, they're bored.
Mm.
But to do that, you need to have one quality that I talk a lot about what I did wrong, but there's one thing I did right, and I always do right. I'm very often wrong when choosing the people, but one thing I'm not scared is hiring people that are smarter than me.
Mm.
I'm
Interesting.
actually, it's what I'm looking in anybody I hire. And that's something that I go through with a lot of my clients, because founders are not naturally like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't naturally have HR processes in place and stuff like that. But that's absolutely key. You need to find, I mean, if I can do your job better than you can, then you're probably not very good at your job,
Mm.
because I'm
Absolutely.
a generalist. I'm not a specialist. So if I hire a CFO, if I'm better with number than he is, he's probably not a very good CFO. And that's true with a CTO. A little anecdote. When I grew the company from two people, started the company with my best friend, and I'm a bit of a, like I have no formal education. I've been in movie business, in communication business. I've been here and there. I opened an internet cafe in Africa. I'm that kind of guy.
Hmm.
And this guy, my best friend, when I started the company, he was finishing his PhD in theoretical physics. So it's like
Wow.
literally playing tennis with Roger Federer. Sorry, but that's our Swiss
Yeah, yeah,
national treasure. So I'll quote him as often as I can.
absolutely.
And the whole company culture was built. And then he was an absolute A player. Still is. He still works inside the company. He's still in many of ventures we do together. And he's an A prime player. And A players attract A players. That's an
Mm,
absolutely key concept. So you have A players, you start having a few A players. You need more, just ask them. They know them. They know each other. It's like, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't remember the movie that's called Outlander. They know each other. They know where they are. They know where they like, and they want to work together. So get to a point where the company was like 10 people. And that'd be pretentious to call myself a software developer, but I was acting as a software developer. When the company was very small, I helped a little bit with the
Yeah.
code. And when the company reached like 6, 7 developers, they actually stormed in my office all together. So they obviously had a preliminary meeting about that. And they say, listen, we have a proposition for you. We suggest you don't code anymore. Why don't you focus more on client acquisition? Because every time you code something, it costs us more to correct your bug than to actually rewrite the whole thing. So that's the kind of stuff that made me proud. That's okay. I have the right guys. Not only they are better than me, but they are brave enough to come and fire me.
Love
So
that.
that like so I don't remember the question. Did I actually vaguely answer your question?
That's perfect because you're talking about was a few things there. A players you need to try and go and look for specific characteristics because you talked about autonomy, trust, and the ability to challenge, which is what they did. They came in and challenged because that could have been a career limiting move. If you had the big ego, you could have turned around and said, "Hey, you just don't know who you are. I'm running the company. You'll do as you're told." But you
If
didn't.
if I was that guy, then it would be good for them to get fired
Yeah.
because they wouldn't want to work in an organization run by a guy like that.
No, no.
That
But
would
because they
like
cared, and obviously you'd created an environment where that was part of the expectation in order for the business to flourish and to continue to grow. That's what they're able to do. And you also said that A players attract A players as well. So like attracts like.
I have an interesting anecdote. I had a big development center in Singapore. Um, I acquired that. The person who was running that was not fantastically good. The guys were not fantastically good. And so I would go there once a month and I would, as I did when the company was not huge, I would have like an idea and ask somebody, said, you know what, take a 3 days break in what you're doing. Can you prototype that for me? I want to see how it looks. So I went to there, go to see a guy, ask him to do that. And he did it. And after 3 days, but that's an absolutely stupid idea. Why did you code that? And he said, because you asked me to. I say, yeah, but you know your job. I don't. The
Yeah,
next time, just tell me it's a stupid idea. Don't
yeah.
waste 3 days of your time coding something you know it's a stupid idea. It doesn't work. You
Mm.
you know it doesn't work, but still you do it. So yeah, it's absolutely key that you have people who can challenge you. Doesn't mean you're turning into a democracy, though. It's not a
No.
democracy. They can challenge you, but at the end of the day, like it's something I used often as a joke when we had like executive meetings, and as like I discussed something, and they were all against me, and I'm like, damn, so bad for you. It's not a democracy. right? You're all against me. I still think I'm right. We're still going to do that. You
Because
don't
I'm the
turn into a
boss.
democracy, but you want people who tell you, who call you bullshit when it's bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You wanna have, as Patrick Lencioni talks about, is a fabric of trust, but also robust conversation where you wanna have a challenging environment, but ultimately you're the one that at the end of the day is accountable for the business and you have to make the call on the business. So it's not a steering committee and it's not
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
groupthink.
And it's like, to use the lingo of the next generation people, you have to offer them a safe space. Like if they're scared to, yeah, I don't exactly know what that means, but I have a vague idea. I don't really speak these people's language, but that's a concept that's actually not totally stupid. It's not like work lifestyle
Mm,
balance and stuff like that. It's actually a pretty smart concept. Like if somebody is scared to challenge you because he could get fired or get in trouble from challenging you, then they won't challenge you. And
that's it.
if they won't challenge you, then the top of the company is you. It's like that's how far you go,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work because, like, obviously, unless you're Superman, there's tons of stuff you don't know how to do, and you
No, that's
rely on
it.
people.
Totally, totally. Because you also talk about, and that's why as leaders, we can be the bottleneck. As a founder, you can be the bottleneck. And if you're driven by ego that you know what's best versus having an environment where you're literally challenging your team to challenge you, but challenging you not for the fact that they want your position, but they want the company to get better because they believe in what we're trying to do, then they're more likely to do that. And they're more likely to hang around because they know that you're doing it for the right reason. And it's not the case of there's no ego in that.
It's interesting you mentioning that because it's one of the biggest challenge we get in the companies I help managing or growth is it's not necessarily an ego thing. It can be an ego thing, and when it's an ego thing, it's hard to fix.
Mm,
But more often than not, it's not really an ego thing. It's just a day-to-day complexity thing. And I usually start very early with the founder asking him that question. You live for 2 weeks in a deserted island with no internet connection and no phone. What happens to your company?
yeah.
If he tells me nothing, the company will run perfectly smoothly without me. I actually call his bluff and say, okay, you do it, and we'll check. And if he says no, or the company would tank, they would know what to do,
Yeah.
then that needs to be fixed. And I call that a concept I developed, which is confusing what's urgent with what's important.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most powerful concepts I use. My co-founder, Topher, call it spending too much time in the company and not enough time on the company. So there is actually a framework we use. It's called firing yourself from the company, firing yourself from operations. So you basically, and you don't need me to do that. Any founder can do that.
Mm,
You do an Excel spreadsheet of all the tasks you do I would say in an ordinary week, but there's no ordinary week in our job, but on any given week,
yeah.
and you list the one you're uniquely qualified to do. And you'll realize that it's not that many.
Yeah.
It's not that many. And the bigger the company, the smaller that list becomes. And you reach the absolute, like you reach the publicly listed company. And basically, the only task you uniquely qualified to do is investor relationship.
Yeah.
Because these guys want to talk to the CEO, and the analysts want to talk with the CEO. The rest, you have people to do that. So
Yeah.
firing yourself from the company. So that really goes in what you're saying. If your job as a CEO is to lead, it's
Mm,
not to manage.
mm,
That's one of the very useful concept. I kind of understood it, but I actually got research on that from Oxford. Is the difference between a leader and a manager. Most successful founders a good leader and at best average manager. In my case, and it took me way too long to realize that, I'm a good leader and an absolute crap manager. So you don't manage, you lead. And it's really, really different concept.
It
Your
is.
job is you're the GPS.
Yeah.
That's your job. You say
Yeah.
we're going that way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the end of your job if the company is efficient.
Because you bring in people who can do the managing parts of all the bits and pieces that need to make it successful.
You're a founder. How useful are you in a technical sprint meeting?
No.
Get the fuck out of here. You bring no value. It's the opposite. You monopolize the attention. Nobody, they don't dare to fight each other and swearing and yelling that it's supposed to because you're in the room. Get out of here. It's a waste of your time. Like, what are you doing in sales meeting? Your sales guys have their targets. You will know if they reach the target or not. If not, you fire them. If yes, let them work.
That's right.
It's tons and tons of stuff like that. It's hard. It doesn't come naturally because at the beginning, obviously, you're gonna do that because you're a small team. You have to at the beginning you mop the floor. But the transition from that to actually doing your job as a CEO and not everybody else's job, it's something that actually has a framework.
And I think that concept of as your partner was talking about, working more on the business rather than in the business, because you as the leader, the CEO has to cast the vision about what the next 6 months, 12 months, 4 years, I know you've got the 4-year plan limit, is going to look like. And so you have to trust the people in the positions to do the operational stuff that will stay on path of that, but you've got to always keep an eye on the future and cast the vision for the next 6-12 months and so forth. Which brings me to
sorry, just a little caveat on that. My African friends use a very interesting sentence: trust doesn't exclude control. You trust them, but the reason you trust them is because you have given them milestone they can achieve. Not you directly, but somebody has given them milestone. It's not like, okay, this is where we're going, see you in a year. This is where we're going. Come back in a week with what are the milestones, what are we're going to from New York to Normandy in a boat. Please come tell me which island we're hitting on the way, where we're refueling, etc. And you control, you trust, but you control, because they might not, it's a team effort. So they might not know exactly if they're on the right way, etc. So yes to what you said, but trust doesn't exclude control.
Yeah, I like that. Because it's not set and forget and you go off and sit on the island, do some pontification and some dreaming of the future. You've got to make sure that there's the vision. There's also the roadmap, and with the roadmap, there's certain things that have to be done, and within that, you've got the milestones you've got to hit to make sure you're still on track. Yeah, love that. Alexis, I did want to talk about as we sort of bring this to a close, the framework that you typically use, and I know you speak about this in your book, the Apex framework: assess, plan, execute, and exit. Is that like the overarching macro plan that you use with organizations to say we've got to assess? Can you just talk about it at a high level what that actually entails?
First of all, when you reach that 5-10 million, I call it the 5-10 million plateau, because lot of company plateau at that point and has hit a very slow growth for multiple reasons, and mainly 3 reasons. One is the one I described, and exhaustion play a large role also at that point, because it takes so much energy to get there that when you get there, you usually get very tired and very overwhelmed. Second one is and exhaustion goes with being in the company, not on the company, confusing what's urgent with what's important, etc. The other one is you probably don't have really good numbers. You tend to pilot your company with a set of instruments that's not good enough. That's also a super easy fix. And there is a little bit of a harder fix, which is you reach the point when you need proper C-level people, and your cousin, who's your bona fide accountant, is probably very, very good, but he's not a proper CFO. And now you need a proper CFO. So this is the reason usually you get stuck around that point. So first part is actually understanding your company and understanding yourself. That's the moment you need to ask yourself, first of all, me as a founder, what do I want? Do I want to keep this company for 20 years and then retire it and leave it to my son or my daughter? Perfect. You're a lifestyle business. Excellent. Do I want to exit in 5 years? Completely different strategy, and to a point, opposite strategy. Then what is your number? How much money do you need to be able to retire and never work another day of your life if you don't want to? How do you guarantee you have good education for your kids? They always have a roof on their head, and that when you die, they still have a roof on their head. All that stuff, like more on the founder level. And then on the company, right? Do you know your numbers? Answer, guarantee you probably know. What's your unique selling proposal? Are your customers happy? So that's the assessment phase. We try to understand your own company. And people don't, just not because they're stupid, but because they never took the time to actually do that. And from there, you have the next phase is to plan. So, okay, now we have a company that does 10 million revenue, 2 million EBITDA. So it's basically worth 20 million now. We want to bring it to 100 million EBITDA. So you're to 100 million valuation. So we basically have to multiply it by 4. And I know 2 times 4 is 8, not 10. But you get, I'm not very good at math, but I'm not that bad. And the reason I say that is the bigger you get, the better multiple you get. So so what's the plan? How do we get that? Do we do M&A? Do we do organic growth? Do we do new products? Do we do new geography? How do we grow? We've been growing 5% per year. So continuing to do what we were doing is not going to be enough. So what do we add? What do we do more? What implication does you have on your staff? How many you need? You have 4 times revenue. Do you need 4 times the people? And then you're not really a company, right? You don't have any economy of scale, et cetera. And so that's the 2 phases where I'm pretty involved. And then I'm gonna say, then go, my friend, and execute. And we'll meet once a month. And because once a month we'll have an executive committee, you'll have a budget, you'll have targets. We're gonna see if you hit your target, if you miss your target. Why? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to work harder? Did our initial plan was? So this phase is the longest in time, but it's the one I'm the least involved. Because at the end of the day, you know how to run your business. I don't. I'm talking with people who do polymer plastic in a green way. I know nothing about polymer plastics. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I'm just going to, like, common sense check your decisions. And then we get to the phase when you actually start to exit. So that's give or take a 1-year process. That's I got in trouble with my publisher for calling it that. I call it dressing the bride. He said, no, you cannot say that. It's sexist. He said, you have to say dressing the window. I said, no, it doesn't mean the same thing at all. So finally dressing the bride or the groom, which means absolutely nothing, but it appeased him. It's making your company ready for private equity. And then there is actually sell process to a private equity that founders never understand this task. It's just another sell process. It has these techniques. It has there is a plan to follow, and it's easy because you know exactly what private equity wants, right? So it's easy.
Love that. Hey, Alexis, I'm conscious of the time. It's after 10 o'clock at night in Surrey, and you're still there vaping and giving value left, right, and center.
Well, as I told you, I'm in love with the sound of my own voice. Hey, can I use your podcast for a little call for help? It's absolutely non-commercial, so I'm not selling on your podcast. But it's I'm starting to write you the second book. And the first one was about growing and selling your company. So basically from beginning or early to exiting to a private equity.
Yeah.
And I want my second book to be narrowly focused on these people who are in what I call plateau.
Hmm.
But the problem is, well, it's not a problem, but it's a factor, is when you talk to somebody, you come with your ideas, but then with talking with somebody, you can fine tune your ideas, right? When you write a book, it's a little bit different because you don't have back and forth with the reader.
Mm.
So you need to be pretty solid in your assumptions. So I would like to interview like 20 founders of companies that are in that scale, 5 million to whatever, and that want to talk to me about their experience, what's easy, what's hard, and who can challenge my hypothesis, who can tell me
Hmm.
you're a fucking idiot. It has nothing to do with my reality, because that's how you grow, right? Or tell me, yeah, you know what, that actually, it's
Yeah.
not completely stupid. And if you're kind enough, if you're in this situation, to give me an hour of your time, I promise you it's not going to be more than an hour. And in exchange, you get a signed copy of my book
Cool.
by mail if you agree to do that.
Love it.
And
Love
if
it.
you can do that, you connect me on LinkedIn. You don't forget to mention the podcast you're coming from. And that would be super helpful for me. And it gives you a chance to tell your story. And you can decide to be quoted in the book or not quoted in the book. It's on you.
Perfect. I'll put that in the show notes. So best way to do that is via LinkedIn, you're saying?
Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is
Okay.
the easiest. Or you
Perfect.
can put my email as well. The email works as well. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Excellent. So Alexis, is there a website that people can go to as well, or just LinkedIn is the best place?
Yeah, nightscalepartners.com. I'll send that to you. You can put it in the notes, but honestly, the easiest. I'm lucky enough that my name is not John Smith, so I'm pretty easy. When you have my name, I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn.
Love it. Love it. So I'll do that. I'll put that in the show notes. I want to thank you for such an enlightening conversation. If there was one thing that you wanted to leave people, particularly as we move into this world of AI, because you said before, maybe I'm going to be replaced by AI. Looking into 2026 and beyond, for a founder, for a business that's trying to scale and get over that plateau hump, what's one lasting piece of advice you'd like to leave us with?
Have a plan. Like, don't be like a ship in the wind. Have a plan. And do not forget that exiting to a private equity, it's a sell. It's
Mm,
a sale. It has a process. It has steps. It has like, and you can, honestly, I'm not lying. You can multiply your valuation by 2 if you do it properly. It's that
yeah,
how big the process is. I
nice.
would have sold my company not double because I got super lucky with the guys, but probably 20-25% more if I knew what I was doing,
Yeah,
which
wow.
would be like, nice.
Yeah,
More
what?
is better.
More is always better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Alexis, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure having you on the podcast, and all the best as you continue to create value across the entrepreneurial world. Thanks a lot for being a guest of the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Darren.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.